Are we on?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're on,
Are we
baby.
on?
Hello. We're recording. Are we
Too
recording?
much boob.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, it looks
I'm
good.
like, I'm over it. I'm
I
over
know.
this heat and this humidity, and I am just like,
Yeah.
this is not good. Humidity and menopause don't go well together at all.
I'm
At
constantly.
all.
This is so bad, but I'm constantly wet, not in a good way. I can't believe I just said that. Like, it's a problem.
You know what though? I want to say the same thing. It's wet, sticky, not in a good way.
Not in a good way. That's
Not even in an exciting way.
no, and that's so shitty that that's happening. Like, how unfair.
No one tells us about this. No one talks about this shit though. So you're welcome.
And I swear to God, if I would have known this when I was younger, I would have had way more sex. I would have. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it like you're like, oh, I sowed my wild oats, blah, blah, blah. No, none of us did. Not in preparation of this crap. You know what I mean? I don't even know.
I'm just going
to zip it. I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what I would do if I had the opportunity to do. Because again, things just aren't working the way they used to. That's all I'm saying. I don't
use
know.
it before it isn't use it until you. What is the saying? I'm going to say
the whole thing is use it or lose it. Like if you don't,
Yeah.
like you have to use it or lose it or something.
It should be use it and before you lose it.
I think you should use it before you lose it.
Yes.
Because the other thing too is we are a different generation. So when we first started all this life stuff, everyone was like, remember, sex is best in your 40s and all this stuff. But what we didn't know was that we were still having kids. Where before, these people writing all that crap down, they had kids in their 20s. So by the time they were 40, their kids were gone and they were like having a jam fest. Not us, man. In our 40s, our kids were still in high school or junior high. In my case, they were born. So it's a little hard to get your groove on when you're caring for children. It just is. Unless Absolutely. You're 20, because 20 can surpass anything. Because when you're 20, you can do anything. But anyway, we didn't come here to tell you.
You got to learn how to get it. In our 20s, we're still in our heads, though. So
that's the thing. And everybody always said that when we were younger. Remember, like, I can't wait I wish I could be in my 20s when I was older. Like if I knew now and all this stuff, if I had the 20-year-old youth on my side and the 50-year-old experience on my side, I mean, I would be a totally like that would be our spirit animal, but that's not how it went down. So now we have to make up for it and try and which is
hurry up and make up for it.
We got to hurry up. We ain't got much time left, which is really what we've come to talk about today, which is, chasing those dreams that we had when we still had aspirations, goals, and hope. And now we're coming on the other side of it. And we realize this is the time for a lot of us.
Right.
And so there's a shift. And maybe it's a shift in your confidence. Maybe it's a shift in your experience. Maybe it's a shift in your goals.
Right.
But it's never too late. And so, right. So today's topic is meeting the goals, but how do you do it? You got to look your fear in the eyes, right?
Fear right in the eyes. I mean, I can tell you, I operate on, I think I am fueled by fear.
Mm-hmm. I think our whole generation.
Not a negative way, but more so, I just, that's just how I'm made. It's like, you don't have time to sit there and not be complacent. You know what I mean? Or be complacent, I should say. Even when people think I'm not working, because I'll be like doing research, I'm always on my phone or on my computer, and I know that people are like, well, what is she doing? I'm like, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I have covered every single base, that I'm or as prepared as I can be, where I ease my anxiety, and that I'm over flooded with information, that I just become numb. You know what I mean? And I stop thinking about all the anxiety. I stop thinking about the what ifs, and I get past my head.
Right. That's very telling what you just said there. And that's something that I've always done too. And I think that that is our way of coping with anxiety. So if you keep that plate so full and those balls constantly moving in the air and constantly running, you don't have time to think about the fear.
Right.
Okay. So what about the person that isn't doing that though? So we want to talk about the person that isn't moving forward. And how do you know you're not moving forward? Because you had
sometimes you
mentioned
don't even know that you aren't. Sometimes,
Uh-uh.
but that could be also you processing stuff. You know what I mean? Because I know that, like, when something new comes to me, I'm not one of those those persons that can have a quick rebuttal or a quick reaction. I have to process. So sometimes the processing time can be 2 minutes, and sometimes it can be 2 years.
Yeah. 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 And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. But then it does look like inaction. But, here's a good example.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Paris.
Right.
When we started our midlife group, Heather and I were talking this out. We were walking on the beach, and we were sunburned by the time we finished. It was a long ass walk. It was like 4-hour walk. We came back sunburned, dehydrated.
25,000 steps. I remember that. Like at the end of the day, I looked down at my Fitbit and it said we had like 25,000 steps. I'm like, holy cow.
But we accomplished so much talking about that. But one of the things I had said was, well, you make fun. You say, you describe it best when.
Yeah, we were like walking down the beach. First, we were talking about, what we were going through. And we've mentioned this a million times, where Christel and I were basically on two different paths. Both of us had children. Yes. Both of us were married. Yes. And houses and all that stuff. But Christel was working, and I was doing, I was at home with the kids, and then, staying active at the gym. And not teaching classes, right? But certainly not in the workforce anymore. And so the more we started chatting and talking, the more I'm like, why is she feeling the same way I'm feeling when she has a life, And I feel like Christel was as shocked. I think you were surprised to find out that I felt the same way. I felt trapped. I felt all of these things. And so we talked about starting the midlife group. But anyway, so we're talking about this group, and we can't be alone, and blah, blah, blah. Everybody has to. And Christel's like, I really see us going to Paris. And I was like, she goes, I feel like this whole group's we're going to end up going to Paris in this group. And I was like, okay, that's a great idea. But how about we just start the group? And so here we are going to Paris. Right. And
with 11 other women.
Yeah.
And, and 2 more on our team, which is Joanne and Maria. And it's just going to be this amazing thing. But, it was planting that seed. And this is where I'm saying, like, sometimes the planning and the action happens over time. So even if you don't feel like you are, like, people think that things happen overnight, especially big dreams.
Right.
Like these things just are overnight successes, and they're not. We had to lay a lot of groundwork, and we had to also manage our lives around it, or manage our lives, our careers. I mean, in that, 3 years, we started the group. You started a business. I switched. Um, I switched. We went through a pandemic. I switched genres, shooting. We started to stream. We started girls' nights. We just did a whole bunch of stuff in between that laid that groundwork. Even though we didn't know it was going to necessarily lead down that path, we just felt like these were the right steps in that. I don't even know if that was in that direction. I knew it was in the horizon, but I didn't know if we were leading towards it. But everything
No,
kind of fell together.
it fell together, but it didn't really just fall together. And we actually have that as part of something that we wanted to bring up today, you and I. So this is what we talked about. You know, we might be kind of skipping around, guys, but you know, it's us. So, you know,
Circle. But we finally get to the topic. Yeah.
So, and that's called action, right? And so, a body in motion stays in motion. A body that still will stay still. And so when you put the baby steps forward, when you start to move in a direction, and again, it's baby steps. We talk about this a million times. If you're standing at the edge of the forest and you want to get through the forest, right? Like you need to cross the forest to get to the other side. I did see a chicken on the side of the road the other day. I mean, I swear to God, we have chickens all over the place here in Pennsylvania, at least where I live. There's a chicken on the side of the road. Chicken, like a full-on chicken.
Like
people have chickens in their yards all the time now. Because, and these chickens are way smarter than people think. Because of the eggs, because of the ticks, you know, they eat ticks. They're like, they do a lot of great stuff. They also leave a big mess, but okay. So, and I feel like there's like designer chickens all over the place. Like it's come to that point, right? Where people walk their chickens and they're all designered out. So anyway, I'm driving home last week. I swear to God. So I'm driving home and there's a chicken family and they are literally crossing the road. I come to a stop.
Was that the first thing you thought of?
Of course it was. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get home. That's why. So, but there was like 3 of them. And let me tell you how smart they are. The one that was on the road now, of course, I'm not a moron. I slowed down. So the one that was on the road, he's like chucking around. And then the other guys waited for me to drive by, and then they okay, that's not what we're here. Anyway, so the chickens. What was I saying?
In action? Is that what the last?
Oh, yes, the chickens. Chickens. I don't know why I got there. Anyway, but what I was saying was there's a forest. Okay, forget about the chickens. Let's talk about the forest. I don't know how that happened. So anyway, so we're standing there at the edge of the forest, and the goal is to get to the other side.
I knew we'd get there.
So if you stand at the edge of the forest is what I'm trying to say, and you look at all the trees and the brush and the logs and the moss and the stones and maybe even a stream, you're not going to take that step forward because you're overwhelmed, because it's too much. But when you just take that step, you take the step, that step leads you in the right direction. But moreover, you're standing there now in a new place, and you can see, okay, well, then I need to step here. Oh, there's a log here, but there's also another path here. All these things that you don't see, which when you're on the edge of the forest with all of this, right? Okay. But when you just put one foot forward and then the next, the path reveals itself.
Right.
And so that's the fear. I think that's one of the reasons we get afraid, is because we are so preoccupied with too many details and everything we have to overcome and this and that, instead of just breathing and taking a step. And if you have to adjust yourself in the middle of it, good. That's fine. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that path wasn't working and you needed to reroute a little bit. That's all. And I think that helps me immensely because I am definitely somebody that doesn't see the forest through the trees. I have to really work at that by just taking that step and not allowing myself to be overwhelmed by the details.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Or like me with the ADHD, and I'm
Well, we
going,
both have that.
yeah, just the whole, um, the step, side step, forward, left, right. You know, I mean, and then it could
Squirrel.
be a winding road
Yeah.
or like a
Yeah.
meandering stream.
Yeah. And it really does talk about, I mean, you guys, so like we talk so much about things and there's so many cliches and things that we bring up, but you know what? Those quotes and things happen for a reason because people went before us. And so
Mhm.
when you hear things like to enjoy the journey is more important than the destination,
Mhm.
right? Isn't that true? That's
Mhm.
so true. What you learned. So there you are, right, left, right. And look what you experience just
Mhm.
trying, right, to get where you
It's never
need
a
to
straight path.
go.
Never a straight path. Um, I was going to say something and I can't remember, but we'll get back to. I'll eventually remember. You'll trigger something. That will.
Chickens crossing the road.
I don't know.
Just, but I got to my point.
So, but yes, so that's one of the things that we talk about, right? Like, so if
Mhm.
we,
I don't know what's going on here with my camera. Sorry.
it's all right. So if
Sinking
we were
down.
to go back all those years ago and say,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to Paris, which, you know, it was out there. We did, well, you did. I was like, let's start the group. And then, but look at all that, like you said, look at all the steps that we took without even realizing
They were
where
part
it
of
was.
the steps.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. But we were trying, but again, a body in motion is
Mhm.
going to stay in motion and fear will paralyze you.
Right.
Right.
So, how do
So
you
that,
get past the fear?
so we were,
What
so
was
that,
your experience, or what did you do to get past fear? Give me an example, a recent example.
um, there's a couple ways I did it. Right. So we just talked about the first one. I have an issue with the forest or the trees. I had to just step. I
Mhm.
had to just go.
Mhm.
I'm not the kind of person that, so I do get overwhelmed and bogged down by the details. So starting my own business terrified me because of the semantics of the bookkeeping and the thising and the thatting and all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so what I did was I just kind of did it and gave myself the permission to screw up and gave myself the permission to go back and fix what I needed to learn.
I think that's key, is giving yourself permission
Yeah.
that it's not going to be the straight line, that it's not going to be a perfect process, that you're going to screw up,
Yeah.
you're going to not know everything. You can't be the expert at everything.
No.
Once you start, you can have information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's big, right? Because I'm a perfectionist. And I think our generation, when you said that you're fueled by fear, our generation is. I mean, our whole life we heard all the pitfalls, what to watch out for, what to look for. So we're very cautious people.
Mhm.
And, you know, in our minds, it's always we're going to fail, we're going to fail. So how do we avoid failure? And so these younger kids today, they have a way better understanding of success, and success is not about not failing. It's about getting back up. Right. So
Mhm.
I allowed myself the opportunity to fail. I allowed myself the opportunity to go back and fix things, and to not be good at something before I start, and to kind of to learn, as I go. Right. And so that helped me. The other
Okay.
thing I was going to say that helped me is a self-esteem issue. You know, I was so afraid of failing. And in my business, you know, if you screw up, somebody can get hurt.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of liability with what I do. And of course, and my husband is an engineer, so he is even more. I thought I was bad. He thinks I'm like, you know, free willy, let it rip, blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't, because he's so buttoned down and so like detail oriented, and an engineer looks for everything that could go wrong, because that's what they're trying to write to fix, basically, or create.
They were trying to minimize that.
Yeah. And for me, just with my upbringing and then working in the bank as long as I did, my whole thing again is looking at something and figuring out, okay, what's wrong here? How do I prevent this from turning into a lawsuit, a nightmare, or this, that, and the next thing? So I was already more paralyzed. And then you add him to the equation. And then one day I sat down and we had it out, he and I actually, and I said to him, why not me? And
Why not what?
Why not me? How come this person can have their own business? How come this person can be a personal trainer? How come this person can have classes on her own? How come this person is able to travel into people's homes and do personal training and everything else? Why am I going to be the one that has the liability? Why am I going to be the one that causes somebody to get injured or gets raped or murdered or whatever it is? All of these other people are doing it. So why not me? What's going on? And so when I challenged that with him too, it was like, well, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, everybody is faced with the same risks.
Right.
So why am I set up more than somebody else? I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
That's just silly. And so that's a fear again, right? A fear of all the things that are going to go wrong. And again, so you got to look that in the eye and you got to challenge that with, does that make sense? Because does it make sense that you're always going to succeed? Anything you do and touch will turn into gold, and you're going to make money and be this most successful person ever without a struggle. Does that really make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. So then why in the world would the flip side of that is, okay, everything I touch is going to turn into a disaster and a failure and a lawsuit? That's not true. It's just their extremes. Right?
I think too is what I've noticed for you is once you say it out loud, because the voices in your head and the voices that you, when you say something out loud, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go back to other things like, just like when the thoughts can be so irrational inside, because it's affected by your past or this current situation you're in. And so when you start saying things out loud, like what you just did, and just questioning that, it's amazing that it's like, or using someone that can be a sounding board for you. And that's what you and I do to each other all the time. And I'm like,
right.
Does that sound irrational? And you're like, yes, Christel.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And I don't think, and there is a line to, like, for example, we've talked about this. A lot of this has to do with our upbringing, and it's important that we talk about it, right? Because a lot of people watching us have the same upbringing. It's amazing to me because your parents came over to this country. Right. So, okay. Right. And my grandparents did, and my mother did. So, so I have that, but I don't even know if it's an immigrant thing as much as it is a generational thing. The fear of God was put into me about failing. Everything had to be a sure thing. Everything had to be a sure bet. Oh yeah. That's pretty.
I'm having like extraterrestrial things going on here.
I love it. Is it your lighting?
I have no idea what it is.
It's done.
I guess that was weird. Okay. Sorry about that. Like
doobie.
I know. I'm like, I do live in it's close to 100 years old, my house. So you have like ghosts. So, but yes. So, but I think that's part of it too. So at some point we have to adopt our own language, right? Like they meant well. It's not that they weren't trying to help us or anything like that. They lived in a state of fear. And, and that probably served them for whatever it was, but we want more, right? We want to live our dreams. And Paris is one of those things like we talk about, but for me, Paris, I like to laugh and joke about how when I used to, I minored in French. I loved French. My mom's family's from Quebec. And so they speak Canadian French, which of course is different, but
regardless, it was something I've always wanted to do, was to go to Paris. And, you know, then I had kids and a life and responsibilities and just all of these things kind of set in. And I did have a moment where I'm like, I don't think I'm getting out of this friggin' country again. Because I'd only been to Canada. I'd only been to Mexico several times, which I shouldn't say only. A lot of people haven't been able to do that either, right? But, you know, I've always wanted to do Europe. And here we are.
And for me, it's going back. I had those opportunities. My parents took us, my younger sister and I, back in, I think I was graduating from high school, and that was like amazing in a sense where I realized how small this world was, and that there's so much out there. And it was probably one of the best gifts my parents gave me as far as in that experience. It was kind of a tough experience though, because my dad was all about driving through Europe and we weren't allowed to talk to anybody. We weren't allowed to like experience it. I mean, we got to see it. We got our feet wet. We got a taste of it. And then when the next summer, and I don't know how this even happened, but my sister convinced my parents that we could backpack across Europe for 6 weeks. And she was still in high school. I didn't even understand how they allowed her to, like, as a minor, I think she was only 16 or 17, to backpack with me all over. And so we were gone for, I want to say close to 6 weeks. And I think about that. And then I went back the following semester and studied in England and traveled around. And I kept going back until my last year. My sister had passed and I graduated from college, and I thought, one last hurrah before I settle down with a career and get serious about life. And I just remember that being the most moving experience, because at that time I was close to being 25, and like you, I settled down. I put aside a lot of things to be a mom, and when right before the pandemic, I started traveling again, and I remembered what it was like, that experience, that adventure, the newness of it, and experiencing, like, talking to people and cultures, overcoming language barriers. It was amazing. And it all made sense how, like, that talk about us going eventually to Paris, just like, okay, yeah, we can do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
We started doing our Zoom talks again, during the pandemic. I kept bringing it up, and look at this. It would be this. I already broke down the numbers. You guys are still going, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But for me, like, working past fear, I mean, it's always been, let me get the details down. Let me get the education down. Let me get the research down and work backwards. So here's my end goal. How long should it be? What should it cost? Blah, blah, blah. Those were the things I always have to break it down and work backwards. And a friend of mine taught me that. I'd be like, I want to do this. And he would say, well, what's your goal for doing this?
Right. And I'm sorry, go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's funny because you need to do that. And that also helps me as well. But when I get too much in my head, I just got to walk.
Yes. Yeah, I get so desensitized from all the information finally, you know what I mean? Where you just get to that point where you're just so full of information. And at first, there's that stage of inaction because I don't know where to start. I don't know where to put my foot in the forest. Do I start over here? Do I start over here? And then it's just like, okay, just do it. I'm so tired. Like, of inaction. I need to move. I need to move. I need to move. I don't care if it's the wrong step. I just need to move.
Right.
And that's what it was. Okay, so I mean, we're talking about Paris, and I think a lot of people are like walking. I feel like we're starting in the middle of a story for a lot of our people
Yeah.
because a lot of them aren't in midlife in our midlife group. So, Paris is a girls trip that like Heather and I had talked about, and while she was on vacation and unplugged off the grid, I put the plan in motion.
Literally off the grid. It took me 5 or 6 days to get my stupid Fitbit off, like my smartwatch off. And as soon as I did, this one's got a Paris trip going. And it was just, and it's so funny because when she called me and I was like, what?
I love you.
She's like, she called me and I'm like, what? I'm unplugged. She's like, you've been unplugged, but look what I did. And she had done this, like the whole thing was done. I was gone, you guys. I was gone at that point 7 days, and she had the whole thing done. I can't turn my back on her for 1 second.
Well, we gotta get it's happening.
Yeah.
Get your mother effing passport.
Yes. Yeah. Which is a whole thing, which was, a whole thing, this passport thing, which I do want to talk about too today, because again, that also has to do with fears. But yes, like the whole thing. And I literally was like, honest to God, I was still sleeping from the trip and just everything. But anyway, it's all great.
We got COVID at the same time.
Oh my God, that's right. You guys, right? We both got COVID.
My computer died. Like it got completely had to go buy a new one. I mean, I was doing all of this without a computer with COVID, and you were out of town.
Yeah. We went out of town, and then we got COVID, of course, while we were out of town, because that's how this was going to go. And then when we came back, I'm like half dead. I can't say that I was half dead, but I didn't feel good. It wasn't like the first time I had COVID. Let's put it that way. Like the first time I had COVID, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to sign the DNR. And I need to talk to somebody about what I want to do with my remains. But this time it was like,
remains? Oh, is that what they are?
Because I don't think I'm getting out of this.
You don't think I caught that? Right now they're roommates. That's how I feel about them right now.
This time though, it was okay. Right. Like, so we were sick.
Yeah, I was thankful
tired,
too.
all that crap. But so yes, you had totally done all of this while you had COVID.
So what Paris is, it's a girls trip, mainly from our midlife group. Actually, there's a few girls that aren't even in our group that are going. And so it's a 7-day, 6-night trip. We're all staying in this enormous artist loft. And we're doing a few activities, and it's a dream shoot as well. So you're going to get photographed in the streets of Paris. But mainly it is to travel, B, to make friends, 3, or C, to get out there again. You know what I mean? It's just, I think we've all been busting at the seams, chomping at the bit to do something. And D, it creates a safer way. A lot of us are older and we want to do these things. And I know that a lot of our husbands or partners aren't into it. So like, I love my husband, but he his ideal vacation isn't my ideal vacation. I'm not going to punish him for that. But,
right.
I mean, what's a better way to travel than a little safety in numbers, women that are like-minded as you, and also that you want to go experience these things. It's still okay to make friends at this age. It's still okay to travel at this age. And we're doing it in a way that is safe and fun and adventurous. So always been my dream. And I love that we're able to do this. And I want to say that, wow, except for the exception of me and maybe Joe, everyone has never been to France or Paris. So this is going to be really exciting to introduce y'all to this, and I'm so excited to see your reactions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the dream trip, and we kind of put it into fruition. I put out a post in our midlife group, and I just said, "Hey, I think I'm putting a girls trip to Paris," and I posted one of the Airbnbs that I was interested in, and I got tons of reaction. And then I started, I got a lot of people saying, "Yeah, I'm in." So then I started looking at dates. I started looking at costs, and talked to a few of the gals that actually travel, but not necessarily in Europe. And then I got a lot of feedback and put it together in a week. Contracts, brochure, everything without a fucking laptop.
Amazing.
And here we are, booked in under a month, with a wait list. And
yeah, we have a wait list.
And with another trip on the horizon for the fall of 2023 as well.
Yep.
But again, this didn't happen overnight. This happened with building, with all our little side steps and meandering journey to our goals, and reaching where our aspirations, where we want to be. It didn't happen. There's no beeline or no straight line to your goal. It just is. You've got to understand that every step you take is part of the education, part of the journey, part of the experience. Yeah. And I think that all of that helps you prepare for your goal or reaching your goal.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that we, just to go back again about how everything had an expiration date on it when we were growing up, by this time you need to have this, but by the time because I can remember being 29, or maybe it was 27. And I was like, oh my God, I'm 27. I'm not even married yet. Oh my God. By the time I was 28, I was like, I'm never getting married. I'm never having kids. Because again, we had this crazy expiration date on everything. And then it was, you have to have arrived by the time you're in your late 30s and 40s, in your career. And I mean, and it's just not that way. And I think I have mentioned this before. And if I have, forgive me, I'm in menopause. So
Prevagen.
I can't afford Prevagen.
I know.
I looked at Prevagen.
Because we're going to Paris.
So anyway.
Saving my money for croissants.
Saving my money for clothes.
But anyway.
Ooh, and French wine.
Ooh, yes.
And champagne.
Oh, yes. I actually spoke to the company that is going to drive us there. And so we'll talk about that later. But real quick, I think it's kind of cool that it's not going to be, they're going to drive us there and take us back. They'll take us to all the different, Champagne region. And but we just pay for like our tastings at each place, which, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just someone to drive us there and back so we don't like kill other people.
Yeah. That's all I care about. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, really, right? Let's go. Okay, that's all I think.
Who the hell are these Americans?
Yeah. So, oh my God, I forgot what I was going to say. It was back to what we were talking about. What were we saying?
Oh, no, okay. You know what? You brought up a good point about the expiration date.
Oh, the expiration. Okay.
I remember having a nervous breakdown, not a nervous breakdown, but a meltdown at 25. I was on a ski trip with some girlfriends, and I was like, oh my God, I did 25. I'm not even in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. What am I doing with my life? I said that at 25. I look back and I'm like,
I know.
What was the rush?
I'm telling you, our whole generation was like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were a mess. And by the way, when you look at how irrational the whole thing was, and it wasn't just one or two of us, many of us were like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not only we had like everything was supposed to be planned,
Mm-hmm.
like, and by the way, like the other thing too was, oh, well, I can't get married at 18 because I got to go to college, but I should be married by 24 or 23. I mean, who came up with that? I don't know where we came up with all of that, but part of it was our parents. Again, I really do think it was a big fear of the people that were older in our lives, right? And we really are that sandwich generation where our parents are on top of us. Now the younger kids are coming up this generation. We kind of fit somewhere in the middle. And I don't know. And we had very unrealistic expectations, I think, about life. And also there was a shorter, like my great grandmother told me, she's like, don't you rush out and get married. I was like 10 and I was like, I'm going to be like 30. Boy, was I right at 10. And she goes, oh, I mean, 19. Don't wait till you're 30, for God's sake.
Oh my gosh. See, and my sisters both got married 19, 20 years old and had kids right around that time as well. And so I knew I was going to do that. But at 25, I remember thinking at least be heading towards it. But, at the same time, it's like, but I wanted to travel and where was I going to live? And do I want to stay here in the States? Because I had already I was in love with Italy. I was just, oh my God. But anyways, so I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to be. And how do I do that? And I know that when I did realize that when I was living in London that it was hard living away from family.
Yeah.
So that kind of cured me a little bit, but it was like, how do I encompass all of this stuff?
Well,
you take a break from it, honestly, which is what I did. And here we are back with a vengeance.
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing that I wanted to bring up too about the expiration date, because I hear this a lot, even in my business, right? I should lose 20 pounds, but I'm already 52 years old. Or 20 pounds. Let's try 50, 60 sometimes. It's too late for me. It's too late for me to get active and fit, blah, blah, blah. Should have done that, 20 years ago or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is. And I brought this story up before, I think. And that's all right. One of my grandmother's dearest friends, and her name was Irma. And she didn't finish college, or she didn't go to college. And she was in her late 40s. Now, this is the 80s. So, and she said, I would love to go back to college. It's something that I regret that I never did. And her husband said, so why don't you go? And she said, because, my gosh, by the time I graduate, I'll be 50. And he said, well, you're going to be 50 anyway. So what is the difference?
I love that.
That has stuck with me. That is something I can remember as a teenager.
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. So if you are sitting there thinking about these things and thinking, well, it's too late for me, I'm past the prime, or I'm going to be this old when I finish it. Oh, it's a 10-year thing. I mean, my God, I'll be 60 or 63 or whatever. Why would I do that? You're going to be 63 anyway. You're going to be 55 anyway, God willing.
I love that. I'm like, so profound.
Right. And so the same is true in anything you do. So if your reason for not starting is because of a stamp date or an expiration, you're wrong. Right? You can do, and that's something I tell myself all the time. I'm going to be that amount anyway. Or, and you remember when we were kids, we did the same thing. It was the same thing. Oh my God, I don't want to do that. Like, that's another 5 years in school. Oh my God, I'll be like 27. You're going to be 27 anyway. Who gives a shit?
Well, yeah. One of the gals that I work with, she's adorable. And she was talking about, well, I don't, she just graduated college, and she was saying, well, I'm thinking wondering if I should go back for my master's. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the goal for your master's? and I wasn't talking her out of it, but what does the masters represent for you? And she goes, well, just credibility. And I said, got I've worked with 3 or 4 different marketing directors. None of them had a master's degree, but incredibly successful in their positions. So what does credibility represent to you? And she's like, well, confidence. And I said, okay, well then that's something you have to do on your own, not necessarily a master's degree.
Yeah.
So you need to do that first and then get your master's degree. It doesn't work because you have your master's, because then you're going to be like, I still don't have the confidence, blah, blah, blah. You're going to need to be able to sell your ideas, everything. You have to gain that confidence. No education is going to give that to you.
No,
so
but
work
again,
on that first and then get your master's degree.
I agree with you on that. And again, that kind of comes back though to imposter syndrome, which completely,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's, you got to have, and that comes from upbringing, if all the I's aren't dotted and the T's aren't crossed and, then you can't do, you can't move, you're going to fail, blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, okay, I got to get all this master's. I have to get my master's. I got to do this. I have to do all this prep work because I'm not enough.
Right.
Not that education is terrible. We're not.
No. And I was saying that, but that's like what her thought was an internal thing rather than an educational thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, ring that in first.
Right.
And then take your next step. But the
Right.
confidence thing is something that isn't any book will give you.
Right. Absolutely not. And I can speak to that with all my certifications, because we've talked about this with my certifications. Again, why not me? Why not me? Why not me? Well, I'm going to get all my certifications for something I've been doing for 30 years, by the way.
Right.
Certification. And yet at the end of each certification, other than the amount of money I had to pay for it and the credentials behind my name, I learned nothing. I shouldn't say nothing. I learned general information that you should have. Okay. But everything worth its salt has been on the job, has been my experience as a human being, as a woman,
right.
as a person. Right. And so the certifications allow me to work because I have to have them. I can't have them if I don't work. But they haven't made me a better personal trainer. They haven't made me a better nutrition coach. They haven't made me a better fitness coach. Right. That comes from me.
Right. And the same thing. I mean, I remember when I was first starting out as a photographer, I kept going, I'm not ready to post this. I'm not ready to share my work. I'm not ready. What will people think? Blah, blah, blah. And I need to learn how to edit better. I need to have a studio, or I need to have this, blah, blah, blah. There was always something that was like, I need to do this first before I can do that. And then eventually, like I said, I just get so, not overwhelmed. I just get so full of
angst,
trying to process everything that I just throw it out there. So, and then I'm so numb by the time I do it that it doesn't matter. But I just needed to process it first. And it's kind of good in that way because I've learned to keep doing that and look past the fear. Put my blinders on and just do it. And like we were saying, is like the more you do it, was it the action? A body in motion stays in motion. And that's what happens. So that's what happened to me. And so here we are. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're always doing stuff." And I said, "It's not that it's just how I move. I have to move. I have to keep going." And I'm sure other people are content and I envy you that if you can do that. And just stand still and breathe and be in the moment. And I am in the moment, but I'm also thinking, okay, what's next?
Right. What if we so when we look, when what happens though, if you're in a situation where So we've had this talk. You're like, okay, I might be stuck. I have things that I want to do. I'm not doing them for whatever reason, but I can't get past all this. I can't just take a step out. I can't just I can't just keep myself busy and then not worry about the drama. I can't just meditate myself out of this thing. What do I do? Right. But I know I want more. And there's a difference, by the way. It's okay not to want more. It's okay not to want to travel to Paris. It's okay not to want to get a certification or go to college or do a career change. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you do, and you can't, and you know if that's you, right? And you can't get out of it, then what?
Well, I'm lucky in that respect because I have people that I talk out loud to. That the circle of trust that I have, and that's you, Maria, Joe, my husband. My husband kind of doesn't get it though. He looks at me and he goes, "Whatever you put your mind to do, you're going to do it." So he doesn't. He's like, I know that that's your process, but he goes, I already know you're going to do it. So he's all like,
yeah.
But I think just saying it out loud out of your head. So you can process it and talk about it in your head, go back and forth with the voices. I have multiple voices. Sometimes there's just one, but I have voices like, what about this? Da, 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 da. What happened to you?
I don't know. Oh my gosh.
That was
Hold
weird.
on. Oh, I'm back.
Okay, that was weird.
I went to space. I spaced out.
Well, like you're like, oh, Christel's talking out. But I think for me, it has always been safe when I'm ready to talk about it, going to a safe place and talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's, and I feel so grateful that I have you and Maria and Joe to do that.
And I will say that is something that is huge for, and I have the same with you and Joanne. I don't have Maria yet, but she's on my list. I do have my girls from Built. We hold each other up. And what I want to say about that is that these women in my life are very important. It's a strong network. It's a strong support group, right? And when you are alone on an island, things are much bigger than they should be. And when you are alone with your thoughts, they have a hold and power over you that once you set them free, like for me, once I say it out loud, it's like, oh my God, how ridiculous. But they hold.
Why was I hanging on to that?
Yes. Yes. And so a strong group of women, support group, is really important. But sometimes you don't have that, right? Like, so a lot of us, especially for all kinds of reasons, maybe you've been working a lot, maybe you've been raising a family for a long period of time, and you're just kind of like raising your head. There's nothing wrong with therapy. If, therapist is wonderful that way. I went to therapy, helped me get my voice back. In terms of, I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. I didn't know who I was. And I didn't even realize it was that, right? I didn't even realize that it was even that bad. I was just like, going and going. Right. So a good therapist. The other thing too, is if therapy ain't your thing, self-help books, if self-help books is your thing, podcasts are great, right? Listening to podcasts. It takes some introspection. Yes. Yeah. It takes a little introspection, but again, if it's fear that's holding you back, and there's a whole bunch of reasons, you could be afraid to move on from the group that you're in. If I follow this path, if I do the things I want to do, this whatever group you're in right now, whether it's your husband or a significant other, whatever it is, will I lose them? I don't know. Will you? But again, these are these fears that are not always accurate. And so it's really important that you face them in any way that you can. You know, for us, we have each other and therapy, right? You know, and we have like some serious shit here going on, right? So what our therapist and meds, what our therapist doesn't know, any of us, is that they are literally group counseling. So Christel goes to therapy.
I'm like, your therapist knows that I'm included in this package, right?
Right. Christel takes notes. I go to my therapist. I'm taking notes.
Ask him about this.
And then we call each other. I'm like, guess what my therapist said?
So what did he say?
and we're saving money that way, right? Because it's like one copay per person. So you know, there's many ways to skin a cat, is what I'm saying. Oh, and in France, that's a big deal. Cats.
Un chat.
Un chat. Un chat. Un chat et un cheval et un chouette. That's it.
Why an owl?
I freaking don't know. So apparently there's like a lot of owls and horses.
Cats and horses in Paris.
Just roaming the streets in Paris. And so
we're talking about our if you've ever done it, it's Duolingo. It's an app to help you learn. It's like Babbel, and I actually have both. I have Babbel and Duolingo. So we're all like racing right now to learn French or conversational French before we go, so that we don't look like complete buffoons when we're out there.
But unless there's like a ton of really, like, unless horses are running the streets. There must be feral horses, cats, and owls all over the fucking place over there.
I'm like, get to the good stuff. How do I order more wine?
Sweat.
Duo. Will you take my friend Maria home?
Instead, we just want to know about the horse crossing the street to get to the cat, who is small, and the horse is very big, and the owl is hungry. So anyway, yes, I don't remember what that was about. Oh, the cat. More than one way to skin a cat, and I'm sure the French are going to let us know. But there are a lot of different ways, and no one true way works for one true person in anything. Right. So what works for me may not work for you. What worked for Christel may not work for you, but don't be afraid to play with it. There's nothing bad.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is I don't think I knew one way that works for me. And I think I like that because again, it's like a pleasant surprise.
Right.
You think that you don't like something or you think that that's not going to work for you. And then you find out, wow.
Right.
What you know, this was amazing. This was something totally new, and I am so thankful that I tried it.
Right. All right. What else is we're gonna finish on time, and we have to finish.
Hell?
What is going on? Because if we don't, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Okay.
I'm doing the St. Vitus dance over here.
All right. Did we think of everything? I think we did.
Did we?
I think so. We just need to say our if you like what you see.
We didn't do that in the beginning. What is wrong with us?
Oh, and we apologize.
I
know. And we have to apologize too for being off the grid for a while. We've been busy. I mean, it's summer. We have a lot of stuff going on. We had COVID again, dead computers, and then we were planning Paris. So we're back. I think hopefully on a normal schedule again.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, Sydney starts college on Wednesday. Sophia starts a brand new school on Wednesday. I'm going to need a couple more weeks before I start to be like back, but we're getting there.
And we're getting there. And, you know, now that I've got Paris
nailed down,
not locked down, but the gist of it locked down, we're good.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see us in a few, I think, in October or November, we're going to do an actual planning trip. So you're going to maybe see us there. We might even do a stream from there, I think, too.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I know, right?
We'll be together.
Yes, which is going to be so weird.
I
we haven't seen each other. Like, when was the last time we were in the same room?
I think it was last August. It's been a year. Oh my
over
God.
a year?
Yeah, it's been a year.
So rude.
Right? Right? I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on with my camera. It's all blurry. I apologize. I have no idea. There we go.
But this was actually easier this time doing our production.
Yep.
But anyways, if you like what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell.
That's right. Like, subscribe, ring the bell.
And we'll try and be a little bit more consistent in the next couple of months. Give us another month to like get, lock it down. We've just had a lot going on, and as much as we'd like to stay on a regular schedule, we also are moms and wives, run businesses, and so, and we're always encouraging to be present.
Right.
So sometimes that doesn't mean a stream is in our schedule, but we'll get better at it. I think we just needed a little bit of break. And it isn't that we don't love you. We do love you, and we think about you guys all the time. And we're hoping that we are, again, helping you navigate this midlife thing that we're all going through, and that we're here to support you and lift you up, and make sure that you're not alone in this journey.
Yeah. Yes, that's big. And because we're going through it too. The other thing I wanted to say too, we bring this up a lot, is if you have anything that you would like us to talk about, please let us know. Put it in the comments. You can always email us. You can always message us, whatever it is. Let us know. Listen, we are happy to talk about just about anything. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a problem talking. We have a problem with other stuff. Talking isn't it.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be sorry that you actually messaged us, because we'll be like, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Do we have anything else we have to say before?
By the way.
Pardon me?
You look beautiful, by the way. I love your hair that way.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. You look beautiful as well. I did. I had it done. I had blonde put in. Because I'm gray.
Oh, I know. Mine's coming in, and I actually need to take care of this. But I'm like, okay, I'm like planning it around the recon trip. So
yeah.
Probably, I'm all like, I want to have fresh hair for that. So I'm okay with being like gray and big roots right now.
But it doesn't look it. It looks gorgeous. I mean, you look gorgeous as usual.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to pee in this chair right now.
Okay. Love you.
Mwah.